Good morning, students. I am Savita, lecturer, Government GRICP, Bangalore. Today we are taking up Unit 4, Session 2. That is the continuation of the previous session where we saw the circumstances where stroke S and Z is used instead of circle S. So in this particular unit, what are the learning objectives you are attaining? The first objective is to identify the cases where stroke S or Z is used and a small circle cannot be used. So in the last session, you saw that there were 4 rules where you used stroke S or Z instead of circle. This is the continuation. We have certain other rules to follow in this particular topic. So we are going to see what are those rules and what are the grammar logs based on this particular topic. So first rule under session, that is a continuation of this session of unit 4, you have this rule. When the stroke S is written initially in the root word, it is retained in compounds and derivatives formed by means of a prefix. See now, there are certain words which are called as root words and derivatives. If a root word has a stroke S in that, it is having a sound yes in that, and when you are writing a derivative using that particular word, you have to use stroke S. See, for example, there is a word saw. It is a root word, and next to it there is one word which is called as saw bench. So saw is a root word, saw bench is a derivative. In such case, when you write saw using stroke S, the derivative saw bench should be written using the stroke S instead of circle S. That is the meaning of that particular rule. And see, there is one more example. See. Circle S is not used. C, because there is only one consonant yes in that particular word. C, and the derivative is disease. The derivative is disease. So you have to write D through the line, circle S and stroke S. So the rule says whenever you have a root word where you write stroke S, the derivative you have to retain that stroke S instead of circle. The next rule says when at the end of the word S is preceded by a diphthong, then full circle form of S or Z is written. What do you mean by this? If you have a word and the final consonant of that particular word is S, and immediately preceding that S you have a diphthong, then to show the place where you have to place the diphthong, you have to write stroke S. For example, take up the word joyous. Take the word joyous. So J stroke S, joyous. So you have final S and immediately preceding final S you have a diphthong, joya. You have a diphthong oya. So joyous. Take the second example, pious. So P, then you have stroke S, and then before stroke S, final S, you have a diphthong. The same holds good for the third example, sinuous. You see there's a diphthong UA. So sinuous. Then you have to write the stroke S instead of the circle S, because you have to have a place to show the diphthong. Then the next rule, When initial S is followed by another S, then full stroke form of S or Z is written. So you see there are certain words which has only two S in that particular word. There is only two sounds of yes in that particular word. In that case, you have to write a full form of stroke yes for that particular word, continued by a circle S. See, for example, there's a word called cease. Cease. So you have sound of two s in that, cease. So you have to write stroke S. Look at the rule. It says when initial S is followed by another S. What do you mean by initial S? The word should start with an initial S, and again it should have a second sound, should also be S. Then you have to write stroke S. The second example, cease, stroke S and circle S. The third example, sauce, saw and S, sauce. So there's one more example, seize. So you see that there is an initial S followed by circle S. So in such circumstances, you have to write stroke S. So these are the rules with regarding to the use of stroke S. In this particular chapter, you have various grammar based on stroke S. The grammar are M above the line represents me, M on the line represents him, then M circle S myself above the line, M circle S on the line himself, circle S P specially on the line, speed, subject and several. What is the learning outcome of this particular chapter? At the end of the chapter, you will be able to read, write and transcribe all the exercises which is given at the end of the chapter, and the student should be able to learn the circumstances where the full form of S or Z is used in the shorthand outline following the Pitman style of shorthand. So you will be able to understand where to use stroke S, where to use the circle S in this particular chapter, and you should be able to read all the words and write all the words and do a particular exercises given at the end of the word. And also you are supposed to practice all the grammar related to this particular chapter. Here are the book of reference which you can use, follow, and you can practice many words. There are thousands of words based on this particular chapter. Please go through the exercises at the end of the chapter. Practice several times until you attain perfection. Practice leads to perfection. Shorthand is a subject of practice, and practice leads to perfection. Thank you, students.